welcome to this week's Pulse Maharashtra with me, Vinaya Deshpande, where we track the big stories that have taken place in Maharashtra over the week and deep dive into one of the biggest stories that you all should know about. So what are the top news of Maharashtra this week? Let's take a look. After the Supreme Court's directive, the Bombay High Court this week constituted a new full bench to hear the petitions challenging the constitutional validity of the Maharashtra State Reservation for Socially and Educationally Backward Classes Act 2024 that provides 10% reservation to the Maratha community in education and in public service. Now, all political parties have started gearing up for the local self-government body elections, which are likely to be announced soon. Harshavardhan Sabkar, who is the Maharashtra Congress chief, met Uddhav Thackeray and Sharad Pawar this week, while Devendra Fadnavis, who is the Maharashtra Chief Minister, said the Mahayuti will fight the polls in an alliance at most of the places. Speculations are rife yet again over the possibility of a reunion between NCP-SP leader Sharad Pawar and NCP leader Ajit Pawar. Amid speculations of cousins Raj Thackeray and Uddhav Thackeray coming together, Eknath Shinde's minister's outreach to Raj Thackeray keeps the anticipation levels up in Maharashtra. In Badlapur encounter case, Maharashtra DGP has formed a new SIT to probe the custodial death of the accused. The Maharashtra government has signed an MOU worth over 5,000 crore rupees for developing a multimodal logistics hubs in the state. And now it's time for the top news of the state. The Maharashtra government issued detailed SOPs for the protection of interfaith and intercaste marriage couples across the state after the Bombay High Court heard a petition over the last 2 years asking for the government to provide protection to interfaith and intercaste marriages. What does it mean for all those couples who feel vulnerable even 7 years after the Shakti Vahini guidelines which were issued by the Apex Court? And is it time for India to have a law in place for the protection of interfaith and intercaste marriage couples? I take a look at this issue today on Pulse Maharashtra with me, Vinaya Deshpande, where I speak with senior advocate Mihir Desai to delve into the depths of the issue.
Look, I mean, if I speak bluntly, I don't see on its own the state government doing this, especially in a context where the establishment is strongly opposed to interfaith marriages, where they are more concerned about bringing in laws called freedom of religion laws, which are basically trying to ban conversions rather than coming out with laws which actually allow women and men, adult women and men, to express themselves, okay, allow them to exercise their autonomy. So I personally don't think without the court's intervention this would have happened. Intercaste marriages are shunned even till date. Okay, I mean, you open any matrimonial column in any paper, okay, and it will, all the matrimonial columns will be caste based. So, so you have that situation here where intercaste marriages, especially marriages between upper caste and lower caste, okay, are frowned upon very, very strongly by families, by communities, etc. There is a strong resistance to it, to interfaith marriages. Not only from families in most cases, but also from larger community forces, communal forces, okay, various right-wing organizations of both, of all communities. In 2018, the Shakti Vahini judgment comes in the Supreme Court, which is a response to the caste khap panchayats, okay, where violence, honor killings, etc. taking place, much more in Haryana, much more focused on Haryana, UP, etc., etc. Okay. But while deciding the case, the Supreme Court recognized the fact that it's not just the intercaste but also interfaith marriages where people are facing huge problems across the country. Okay. So they issued guidelines which applied across the country.
Hello and welcome everyone to this episode of Pulse Maharashtra with me, Vinaya Deshpande. This week, Maharashtra government issued SOPs for the protection of interfaith and intercaste marriage couples in Maharashtra. But why is it that so many years, even after the Shakti Vahini guidelines which were issued by the Supreme Court, these couples continue to feel vulnerable, and what exactly led to these measures which were taken by the Maharashtra government this week. To talk on all these issues, I have with me Senior Advocate Mihir Desai, who had moved a petition in the Bombay High Court in September 2023, which led to this action by the Maharashtra government. Mr. Mihir Desai, thank you so much for speaking to the Hindu. I really appreciate your valuable time for this. Let me begin by asking you, it's been 8 years, it's been 7 years now since the Shakti Vahini guidelines were put in place by the Supreme Court, and yet we see that interfaith and intercaste couples continue to feel vulnerable. Why is it so?
Well, see, it's in a sense a reflection of our own society and the times that we are living in, which are not much different in certain ways from the times which were earlier. Namely, first of all, that it's very difficult in India, okay, for parents to accept that their children, especially women, have agency in deciding who they should get married to. Okay, and once that is not there, so that recognition that a woman, an adult woman, has an agency to decide whom she should get married to, that concept doesn't get into people's heads. So, I mean, that's how patriarchy works here in India. Apart from that, there are two other reasons. One is the caste factor, okay, where intercaste marriages are shunned even till date. Okay, I mean, you open any matrimonial column in any paper, okay, and it will, all the matrimonial columns will be caste based. So, so you have that situation here where intercaste marriages, especially marriages between upper caste and lower caste, okay, are frowned upon very, very strongly by families, by communities, etc. And the third, of course, is the interfaith marriages, okay, where even if you are not converting, okay, from one faith to another, there is a strong resistance to it, to interfaith marriages, not only from families in most cases, but also from larger community forces, communal forces, okay, various right-wing organizations of both, of all communities, okay, who are strongly opposed to this kind of marriages, and this still exists, okay, and this is the reason why you have even today, okay, it might be that it's the caste factor is much stronger in, say, northern part of India, okay, but to believe that it doesn't exist here would be wrong. It exists very much here in Maharashtra. In my experience, I have come across interfaith, intercaste marriages, even two people from the same caste wanting to get married against the parents' wishes. All these kind of situations, you know, the adult children, okay, let me put it that way, the adult boy and girl are not many times allowed to exercise their choices, okay, and it can mean cutting them off from any relation. It can become a familial violence. It can become confining them. It can at times even lead to honor killings and you know, people getting killed. Okay.
Mr. Mihir, that's a very important point you make, because you know, the consistent impression is that when it comes to interfaith marriages, when it comes to intercaste marriages, the issues that these couples face are primarily in, you know, the northern states. You right now said that that's not the case even in a state like Maharashtra, which calls itself an extremely progressive state. You've come across several cases. Do they necessarily, you know, go on to become court cases at all? And you have talked about the ways in which the couples face problems, which may not always be physical harm, but in several ways it's in a way ostracization from the family or from the social setup. How does that work in a state like Maharashtra?
See, I mean, it's difficult to compare one state with another. Okay, the social complexities are different, economic complexities are different, political complexities are different. But in my experience in Maharashtra, okay, I have seen this happening. I won't be able to compare whether it's as strong as in Haryana or as strong as in UP, but definitely it's something which is not rare, okay, both in terms of intercaste and interfaith. Okay, it's not rare in terms of opposition to those kind of alliances. It does happen. Even in Maharashtra, there are cases where it has led to killings. Okay, what one may call honor killings. It has led to that. It has definitely led to people being to certain amount of violence. Okay, it has sometimes led to acute violence. So,
if you may want to draw from some of your experiences as a lawyer.
say I'll tell you, about 4 or 5 years back, I was handling a case where a girl and a boy from different communities, I won't name them for obvious reasons, okay, but a girl and boy from different religious communities got married, ran away, got married, didn't tell that, they knew that the parents were very hostile, okay, didn't inform the parents where they were. So, one fine day the parents find out where this boy works. The father as well as the brother of the girl go to that place, pull him out, kill him, murder him, okay, in Bombay proper I am talking about, okay. And then of course a case is pending and all that, for whatever it is worth, the case is going on, etc. But so this is a situation, this is an extreme situation where a killing happens, okay. Not that it happens every day, but this is something which happens.
Even with respect to the case that you filed in the petition that you filed in the Bombay High Court in 2023 September, I believe it was a case of interfaith couple which had to run away to Delhi in order to stay safe. Do you feel that the state lagged to provide security, and it is after that that the Maharashtra government has taken measures?
Yes, you see what has happened. What happened, as you said in the beginning, that in 2018, 19, the Shakti Vahini judgment comes, the Shakti Vahini judgment comes in the Supreme Court, which is a response to the caste khap panchayats, okay, where violence, honor killings, etc. taking place, much more in Haryana, much more focused on Haryana, UP, etc., etc. Okay. But while deciding the case, the Supreme Court recognized the fact that it's not just the intercaste, but also interfaith marriages, where people are facing huge problems across the country. Okay. So, they issued guidelines which applied across the country, and the guidelines included two things. Three broad things. One is a telephonic helpline, okay, where you can phone up and say that I am facing this problem. Second is setting up special cells where you can actually formally lodge your complaints, which they will go into. And third is safe houses, houses where they could be safely kept away from any kind of violence, etc., etc. So, these are the three kind of guidelines, and they said that all states and all districts should administer this. Now, unfortunately, hardly any state has implemented it. Delhi was one of the states which did implement it, and there are good organizations in Delhi. One organization called Dhanak, which is very active in Delhi, within the Delhi jurisdiction. So, when these two people from Maharashtra wanted to get married, and they knew they face violence, they actually face violence, they got in touch with Dhanak in Delhi. Dhanak called them there to Delhi, and they were kept in the safe house in Delhi. Okay, there was a safe house already in Delhi. They anyway had registered themselves to get married in Bombay, in Thane. Okay, got themselves made their application. But as you know that even under Special Marriage Act, which is secular law, okay, even if you want to get married, you have to give 1 month's notice, and that's a public notice. So, anybody comes to know when you are getting married, who is getting married, etc., etc. So, they were worried that even when they go for marriage, they will be beaten up or they will be, lynched, etc., etc. So, they went to Delhi, okay, but they had jobs in Bombay. So, they had to come back to Bombay. So, then they approached us, Dhanak and all approached us, and myself and my colleague Lara Jasani, we filed a petition in the High Court asking for two things. One is protection for these people to get married and to safely stay after that, and second, to implement the guidelines given by Shakti Vahini. Okay. So, therefore, to set up special cells, set up safe houses, set up phone line, etc., etc. So, this we filed in 2023. Initially, and the court has, I must say, the court has been, whichever be the bench, has been very, very helpful. And also the public prosecutor in this case, Mrs. Shinde, was very, very helpful. when initially the case came up, the court directed police protection for them to come get married. Okay, so that was the first stage, get married and provide them some protection at their house, etc., etc. Then so that part was a little over, but then the next part came, that what do we do in a long term sense, and what do we do about the Shakti Bahini guidelines. So then the court said, let's direct the state to implement these guidelines, because these are Supreme Court orders, you have to implement them. Okay, so you please implement this. Fortunately, the court did not just pass that order, implement and close the case. Court monitored the case, that what is the way in which you are implementing these guidelines. Okay, so they from time to time ask the government to come out with resolutions, policy decisions. How are you going to implement? Are you going to set up safe houses in every district? Which are these safe houses? Are you going to set up, what are the facilities you are providing in these safe houses? Okay, when can a person approach, go to safe house, etc., etc. Are you setting up a helpline? You know, all. So they pushed and pushed and pushed.
So in fact, you are saying that it was because of the Bombay High Court's push that the Maharashtra government had to finally come up with formal orders to give out SOPs after the court kind of ratified them.
Look, I mean, if I speak bluntly, I don't see on its own the state government doing this, especially in a context where the establishment is strongly opposed to interfaith marriages, where they are more concerned about bringing in laws called freedom of religion laws, which are basically trying to ban conversions, rather than coming out with laws which actually allow women and men, adult women and men, to express themselves. Okay, allow them to exercise their autonomy. So I personally don't think without the court's intervention this would have happened.
But isn't it an irony, Mihir Desai, that the fact that the court has to intervene for the protection of law, which gives the right to agency to every individual, in which the state itself lacked?
Because look at the law. Okay, if you look at the law is very clear that any two adults can get married according to their wishes. Okay, it doesn't matter whether they want to get married according to Hindu Marriage Act, Muslim law, or under the secular Special Marriage Act. They are entitled to get married. They are entitled to exercise their choice. Okay, so the law is very clear that the state on paper protects all this. Correct, but in reality, okay, in order to exercise your rights under that law, okay, you face all kinds of problems where the state many times takes a back seat and says, ये तो आपका family का झगड़ा है, you know, that kind of thing, or what can we do if people are coming in, or sometimes helps also the people who want to stop these kind of marriages. Okay, so yes, it's what you're saying is right, that ultimately what the court is doing essentially is saying that, look, this is the law. Okay, and this is the mechanism now which the law exists. It's not the court created law. So law exists. Okay, so this is the law, and we are providing a mechanism in order to ensure proper implementation of the law, namely allowing people of any faith, any caste, okay, to get married to each other as long as it's a voluntary alliance. Okay, as long as they are adults. Okay, and the state should step in to ensure the enforcement of this law, and this is the mechanism we are providing. That's how it is.
At a time when there's a lot of criticism against the judiciary for judicial activism, do you see this as a positive measure? Really?
Absolutely, totally. You know, I have my criticism of the judiciary. I'm not saying that. But this is a case,
absolutely.
And I must also see, initially it was heard by a bench presided over by Justice Gadkari, later on by Justice Dere and Justice Gokhale, and throughout the benches have been very sympathetic and have been proactive in ensuring that this gets.
Maybe that brings us to a larger issue, really. You know, the fact that the Bombay High Court was sympathetic towards this, and then the Maharashtra government was pushed to finally come out with orders for SOPs for the protection of interfaith marriages. If we can draw parallels with the Vishakha guidelines as well, which were put in place for protection of women against sexual harassment at workplace, for the longest time there was no law, and there still are issues with implementation, but let's not get into that. Do you think that on the background of the fact that Shakti Vahini guidelines were issued in 2018 and in 2025, we still have many states who have not yet issued orders or who have not institutionalized mechanism for the protection of interfaith and intercaste couples? Do you think it's time for the country to have a law for their protection?
Yes, I would like to put it in two parts. One is that overwhelming majority of the states do not have the mechanism. Two, in fact, by not having a mechanism, they are flouting the orders of the Supreme Court. They are in contempt. Okay, so that's one thing. Okay, but okay, like it was done in Vishaka's case. Okay, a law needs to, if a law is brought in, okay, it will be very, very, I think it depends on how the law is worded, of course, because you know many times the laws get worded in manner in which you know the actual impact of the decision goes away. So, but provided it is properly worded, provided it is done with the right spirit, okay, then a law would be very welcome on this issue, which applies across the country. Okay. I don't think that's going to happen, okay, very frankly, but I'm just expressing my hope.
Fair enough. Let's hope for a change. Let's begin with that at least. But you know, coming back briefly to this case, the case which led to this order, which was passed by Maharashtra government now. If you could give us a brief background about the case, the process which took place, and what does this order of the government of Maharashtra to put SOPs in place for the protection of interfaith couples mean on ground for these couples now?
See, as I told you earlier also, this couple wanted to get married. They were facing violence. They went to Delhi. We got some order because of which they could come back. Okay, then come back to Bombay, get married. After that, of course, the process went on in the sense that the court called upon the government to implement these directions and said that we want to see how your implementation mechanism is. Court itself took active role in you know, redrafting some of the provisions, asking the government to implement that, and that's how it came to be implemented. So basically, what the government SOPs do now, okay, are three things. One is set up a helpline, okay, a 24-hour helpline. Second, set up the special cells across each district and set up what do you call it, safe houses. Now, please understand, the safe houses don't have to be built. Okay, the existing government houses, government guest houses, government houses, some government allotments, quarters, etc., which are identified as being safe houses and which will have protection, where food will be at a subsidized rate, etc., because and plus there will be police protection. So, and they will review the see, because what happens is that threat perception will have to be reviewed from time to time. So they will so this committee, this cells will review the threat perception monthly, 2 monthly, etc., and then decide whether the threat perception exists, doesn't exist. If there is an actual threat, they will lodge an FIR and take action against people who are threatening or people who are like, you know, that. So that's broadly how this works. Okay, so any couple, for instance, who fears, okay, that this is going to happen, that they are going to be attacked, etc., or they are being attacked, can approach this committee. Their phone numbers, their email IDs, everything is given in the GR, which will be on the website. I guess it must be on the website by now. Okay, so you go there and you write to them, you call them up, you go to the police station, you say that this is what we are facing, okay, and under this they will be granted immediate protection, and that's the tenor and spirit of the GR. Now, as you know, with all laws, okay, the implementation is always uneven. Okay, so we'll have to say it's just come. So we'll have to see over a period of time how effective it is. Maybe there may be certain lacuna which we are not seeing today. Okay, and which over a period of time, because of practice, okay, people might find out that these holes need to be you know, blocked. Okay, and that may happen over a period of time. But I'm reasonably happy with the government resolution, the SOPs, as well as the approach of the court, as well as the approach of the public prosecutor, I must laud her also that she helped us out a lot.
You must surely be very happy. Almost 2 years after you filed that petition, it has resulted into something that's a welcome step for all the interfaith and intercaste couples in Maharashtra who have been seeking some safety measures. On that note, I thank you so much, Senior Advocate Mihir Desai, for your precious time for The Hindu.
Thank you.